For me personally, I tell you what, I do not like getting stung on the fingers. Hey guys, I'm excited about today's video. Now I've got some good news and bad news. Let's get the bad news out of the way right off the top. Now that nice little hive that you started with in the spring, maybe a little nuke, or maybe it was a new package that you installed, you've been watching them grow and they've been really nice to handle. They've been kind of small and they've been getting bigger. But I've got bad news, and that is as a colony gets bigger, more populated, and they have more honey to protect, and the season progresses through summer and getting into late summer and early fall, watch out, they're not going to probably be as nice as they were previously. There's too much to protect in that hive. There's too many bees, and so they can become a little more defensive. And the good news is all we have to do is wear some more protective gear. Today we're going to talk about gloves. I want to show you today the journey that I took, and finally what I decided on was the best glove to wear. Now when I first started out beekeeping, this is the glove here that I would wear. Not the exact one, but it was one just like this. This is just a leather work glove. And I remember one time my wife put one on, and there was a wolf spider in one of the fingers, and she put that glove on and it bit her, and boy, she pulled that glove off as fast as she could, and it really swelled up pretty big. But yet I always to this day am leery of putting gloves on that have just been sitting around where spiders can crawl up these fingers. These are the kind of gloves that I started beekeeping with. I want to tell you why these are a big no-no. Two reasons. Number one, and primarily what I found was when I'm wearing a glove like this and I'm working a beehive with short sleeves on, look at this gap right here. This gap allows a bee, a nice bee, might land on your arm and just start walking around, and it walks up here, and then as soon as you flex your fingers up and down, your hand up and down, that bee in this gap has the pressure of the top of the glove pushing down on it. It's going to sting you every time. Even down here, bee gets up there, you move, it stings you. They don't have enough sleeve to keep bees from getting smashed and stinging you. So these, they look cool. I know they're kind of tough. They're good leather gloves. Not going to work in beekeeping. Now the next thing I did, I went through different gloves. Primarily, I started using gloves like this, and these are a type of leather gloves. Oftentimes they're probably goat skin, and it makes them pretty comfortable. It really does. They bend easy. They're kind of a thin leather, and for the most part, you know, bees do sting through them. I've gotten stung plenty of times through gloves like this, but it's just kind of a smaller sting. It doesn't swell up as bad because I don't get as much venom. But I've worn gloves like these for a long time, keeping bees, removing bees out of houses. They work really well. One of my workers that was helping me noticed that bees did not like his gloves. They were attacking his gloves. He came up with the idea that since these are leather gloves, goat skin, he said they are animal leather, and that bees can smell and kind of get an idea that these gloves are an animal, and they start stinging the gloves. And I smelled and I said, you know what? You may not be wrong. And so we kind of started noticing that sometimes bees would be attracted to the leather and sting these gloves, especially around the fingers. So I became a little bit leery of wearing the leather gloves, especially when I'm removing bees from buildings. When you're taking apart their home and extracting the bees out, bees are everywhere. Working a hive and smoking them and working frames nicely, these gloves are probably fine. These are going to be the major gloves that you find at bee stores that they sell. Here's a brand new pair right here, double XL. And here's the thing about size. If you get a size that fits you really well, then sometimes it's hard to bend your fingers because it's too tight. But if you get a size that's too big, well then it's too bulky, and you can't really manipulate parts of the hive like the frames that you want to because your gloves are too big. You can tell that I've got a lot of room around my fingers. They're kind of extra areas. My finger isn't shaped like that on the end of it, so my fingers don't really have the dexterity that I would want. Oh yeah, way too clumsy. My hand, look at my hand. It's just, I can't, look at that finger. I mean, the finger is not even shaped like a finger. Look at that. It's just like, no way I can put my hand where I want it to be. You'll have to experiment which size is best for you. Don't always go by a typical size that you might see in gloves. It might be a little different. Gloves manufacturers start listening to beekeepers, and a lot of beekeepers say my gloves are really hot. And so if you notice, there's a lot of gloves now that come with a little bit of mesh netting here. And this netting, or this mesh here, is designed to give us a little bit more air so that we can actually work our hives and our hands don't get so hot. Now, I don't know if that helps. I don't really feel like it helps me that much. I've used them before, but it's just a few inches there, and my fingers are all still covered, so it can still be a hot glove to wear. But let's face it, we know as beekeepers that it's going to be hot when we're working bees. Now, you might want to try some other kind of gloves like this. These are gloves that I use when I'm handling hot candy, when I make the winter bee kinds, which will be going on sale August the 1st. And these are great for temperature resistance. Again, the problem is they're thick enough, probably not to feel the sting, but this short sleeve, no sleeve at all, are going to allow bees to get in there and be a problem. Some people are going to ask me, what do you think about latex gloves? Will latex gloves work in bee inspections? It helps a lot. Don't get me wrong. I do wear these sometimes. I have worn them many times when I'm working my hive. You've seen my videos where I'll wear these, blue ones usually. And what happens is bees could sting through these. They're not really sting proof. It might help a little bit, but just don't think that bees aren't going to sting you. I wear them just to keep the propolis off my fingers. You know, when you work a beehive, your gloves are going to get so filthy like this from all the propolis. It's hard to wash the propolis off your hand. So these are great gloves. Now, some people wear regular gloves and then they put the latex gloves over the top of their regular leather gloves or beekeeping gloves to keep their other gloves looking nice. They don't have to clean their gloves. Their gloves won't soon look like this. They'll be looking brand new. Not a bad idea. Gonna have to get a pretty large size to do that. If you go to Amazon or if you go to a major beekeeping store online, you're gonna find so many different kind of gloves to buy. It's gonna be so frustrating, so confusing. But here's another example. This material is real lightweight. I don't know if it's breathable, I kind of don't think so, but it's a real lightweight material. And again, probably a goat skin, some kind of a leather, artificial leather, but it's not a bad glove. Probably the glove that you've seen me wear the most. The gloves, the actual gloves, featured in almost all my videos are the gloves right here. Now, these are the gloves that you've seen, and you've asked me a lot about where did I get these gloves. They are available sometimes on Amazon. They are available sometimes from big beekeeping stores like Man Lake maybe, but they're not always available. Now, I have worn this particular pair a lot, and I want to tell you the pros and cons. First, the pros, I've never gotten stung through these. If you notice where they've worn out, the rubber has just worn out. There is a little bit more, looks like material, like maybe a canvas material in addition to just the rubber. So that helps in bee stings not penetrating down to the fingers, but the rubber has been snapped off. It kind of takes a beating when you're putting the frames down with some of your fingers getting caught the glove between the frames and the box, and then you have to kind of pull it. It starts ripping away the rubber on these gloves. Well, for me, it's not a big deal. I've got really big hands. I wear a large because that way they fit tight, and I have really good control over manipulating my frames with the gloves being really tight. So I just bought another pair, a pair like this. This is a brand new pair of the pair that disintegrated, sort of. Very good. Now, I'll tell you about the cons. The downside of these gloves, they are so hot. I have never worn a more hot glove than these right here. I'm talking about I don't even have sweaty hands. And these make my hands sweat so bad that when I want to take them off, I have to work a long time to remove them because my hands are sweaty and they just won't let go of my fingers and my hands. But I really do like them. I can't tell you where to get them. They're hard to find. They're so hard to find that I got this pair. I just don't bother anymore to try to find them or recommend them to you. So instead, what I did was I was trying to figure out how can I find a nice pair that I can recommend to my viewers that give you the protection that you need but aren't hard to take on and off and aren't so hot. And of course, this is the one that you've all been asking me about. Every video that I make, someone will say, where did you get those yellow, orange gloves at? And I bought these off Amazon. I know I forgot to put a link in my last video when I talked about them, but I promise I'll leave a link in the description below, an affiliate link, and they're called Kimrest. And these are really nice. Now this is a 9 or a large. Again, I have large hands. They fit me really well. Now these are the gloves also that I used when I was showing you how to use Apivar strips in a hive, that you need to wear a chemical glove when you do that. So these will give you protection from maybe not being stung so much. They're grippy. They have kind of a rough textured surface on it, where these are very smooth. I do like that textured surface on these gloves. And they do have a little bit of canvas in it like the other gloves as well. But I really like how well they keep my hands cooler than the blue gloves do. And of course, as you can tell, they've got a nice sleeve on them. These have the canvas sleeve, and sometimes when you're handling some of those chemicals, the label says you need to wear coveralls, and so big gloves like this will give you added protection from your arms against any chemical vapors that may come up when you're treating your hives for the varroa mites. And I'm doing more videos on that, so be watching in the future. So by all means, these are the winners. These are the gloves that I love, and I really recommend that you get these and try them. Now, I don't know what your preference is. You might like some of these leather gloves. They may work better for you. Your bees may not be bothered by the scent of leather at all. So it's just something you're going to have to personally come to decide on yourself. But definitely you need a pair of these so that you can apply some of the treatments for varroa destructor mite, and so you can get a feel for what it's like to wear these gloves working bees. Are gloves something that I think all beekeepers should wear or not wear? Don't be a hero. Don't expect that, oh gosh, you know, I want to be that cool guy that doesn't wear gloves. I want to be like David. David doesn't wear any gloves. I want to be like him. I want to be that cool beekeeper that, you know, bees don't bother me. I'm tough. I don't have to worry about bees. I'm tough. The toughest people can have anaphylactic shock. Most of us are working bees by ourselves, and we don't have a way to really get help very quickly when we're out in a bee yard somewhere. And I would challenge you to be very careful about going barehanded or not wearing a hat and veil, because your bees have been nice all year. Things are going to get a little bit rougher as we get into late summer and fall, when there's a dearth going on and all the bees are home sometimes. So please be safe. I think it's a personal preference. I don't always go barehanded. Like I said, it's just sometimes bees allow me to do that, sometimes they don't. If I'm going barehanded, I'm going to have a pair of these really close by, so if my bees start stinging my fingers, I'm going to put these on. All right, now let's try to go barehanded. Working hives barehanded, you do have to really be cognitive of where you're putting your fingers and the nature of the hive, and all of you can already tell this is a very calm colony. They're busy working. I've got a lot of smoke going on. So let's just see if we can remove one of the frames that we just looked at without wearing gloves at all. I want to show you guys something while I'm doing this, because I've seen people make mistakes many times, and I don't want you to make that mistake. When you're working bees barehanded, it is so important that you go in slow motion and use lots of smoke. You get stung on the fingers, it's going to hurt, it's going to just make you not want to do any more inspection. And when you lift it up like this, you want to sweep underneath that little lip on the edges of your frame and move it very slowly. And see, now we can handle it, we can look at it. I look at one side, I put my fingers right here to help me navigate it over to the other side to look at it. Now here's the really trick, here's the magic. Here's the beekeeping secret sauce to working barehanded. Watch me put this frame back in the hive. Notice the speed in which I set it in. I'm going to put it down at about this speed, and when I get close, I'm going to use my fingers to guide it down to the wood. I'm not going to let it fall and go plump. It goes right down as smooth as butter. That keeps the bees calmer if you don't bang, drop, and move too fast. Be sure and watch this video here because I explain when is the best time to inspect a hive and when is the worst time. Take a look at this video. Thanks for watching. See you over there.